Well, the time's just gone 20 to 4 on Friday morning. The reason why I'm doing a video this morning as opposed to the usual time of 5 or 5:30 p.m. in the evening is because Storm Dara, by the time I get up early afternoon, will be well underway with rain, wind and heavy snowfall in places as well. So I want to take this opportunity to look in depth at the impacts of Storm Dara on the UK as well as Ireland through the course of today. Obviously, before we continue with the video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. We do have a very active pattern at the moment. It has been expected even way back to the third week of November. I want to draw your attention to the winter forecast in this particular section of the forecast related to the MJO, the strengthening of the PV, and the fact that I expected towards the end of week 1 of December, way back over 2 weeks ago, I did highlight the fact that this would be a more active pattern through the week 1 into week 2 of December. So I'll go on to say that the polar vortex behavior is the elephant in the room. It's expected to strengthen into the month of December, which we are going to see, but we are also expecting to see a potential significant weakening of that. Do check out the video from yesterday if you haven't already done so. Aided by a lack of high latitude blocking, so a positive AO-NAO pattern. The MJO is going through phases 2 and 3, which tends to promote storminess, and then move into 4 and 5, which is usually quite a mild pattern overall. But it isn't a good indicator for anything other than mild. That being said, it has turned out slightly colder now. The minor adjustment in the December outlook versus the winter forecast. Remember, the winter forecast is a generalization of the thinking. It's not specific to a particular period of time. It's obviously impossible to forecast with accuracy 2, 3, 4 weeks in advance. But it gives you a rough idea. And I think this has been pretty reasonable to mention the fact that the MJO phase 2 and 3, that tends to promote storminess over the North Atlantic into Western Europe. And we may see stormy at times through weeks 1 into 2, perhaps even week 3 of December as well. So I just want to draw your attention to the fact that it was highlighted here in the channel for quite some time that as we move towards the end of week 1 of December, I was expecting the potential of a named storm, and the December forecast does make mention of that. So, Storm Dara, still not overly deep, but it is beginning to get organised way out over the Atlantic, a good few hundred miles to the west of Ireland. So this is the animation for the pressure off medial seal, and you can see there is the system beginning to get its act together. Pressure still in the mid-90s millibars. There's the feature, by the way, that brought the wind rain across the British Isles during the course of Thursday. We've seen some particularly windy conditions up the western side of mainland UK during Wednesday night into Thursday morning. It remained pretty gusty during the course of Thursday. Then we're going to see a little lull through the first half of Friday. But then if we look at the Met Office chart here, this is showing the system pushing through the UK at the end of this evening. And then you can see, draw your attention to this developing feature here aboard a 250 plus mile per hour jet. I'm not entirely sure whether it's crossing from the warm side into the right entrance region and then moving into the cold side of the jet, so the north side of the jet, then it moves into the left exit region, and that is an area of enhanced lift within the atmosphere, bundling of energy, tightening of the isobars, and the faster the air rises, the quicker the pressure at the surface falls. And you can see as we play through this loop of the Met Office site, so you can see here that with each frame, so this is a midnight, so beginning this morning, pressure at 995 millibars. And if you actually look at the latest of the medial seal, we're around the 995 millibars, so almost bang on here. So this is 340 UTC. And if we look at the Met Office projection, it's expected to be 995 millibars. You can see here, well out, probably a good 600 miles to the west of Ireland at this time. But watch how, as I click to the next frame, this is by midday Friday UTC, the pressure has then dropped to 988 millibars. Then click to the following frame. This is midnight tonight into Saturday morning, and we've got a 981 millibar area of low pressure, generally bang slap between Northern Ireland, if not on the east coast of Northern Ireland. We've got it over at the Irish Sea. At this stage, we've got a tremendous amount of rain, and the initial frontal system moving through, bringing gusty winds, heavy rainfall, and also snow to medium high ground over the north of England in the southern areas of Scotland. But it's on the southern flank we're most concerned. That is why the Met Office has not only a yellow warning, but we've also got an amber warning along the western side of the UK mainland here. So we've got the potential of 70, 80, possibly slightly higher gusts along that coast. And even inland, 50, 60, locally 70 mile per hour is expected. So let's look initially at the Arpege model first. In fact, let's have a quick look at the warnings of the Met Office before I forget. So just bear with me a second, and I can try and get to the appropriate chart. Bear with me a second here, everybody. Met Office. So, let's see. I don't know why it wasn't bringing that up. So we've got the amber warnings in place. So this is how the warnings are looking as of today. So Friday, 6th of December. And you can see here that we've got the rain warnings across southern Scotland, southern and central Scotland. We've got a yellow warning for rain. Across Northern Ireland now, we're already in the wind warning, but also for rain. And then as we scroll down, we've got a rain warning for Wales with a broader scale wind warning. We've also got a wind warning across pretty much the entirety of England as well as Wales. Then as we move into the day on Saturday, that is when the concerns increase in terms of the strength of the wind. That's when the centre of the low is likely crossing over Northern Ireland and the far north of England, if not southern Scotland. On the northern side, that's where we're expecting to see the heavy snowfall. On the southern side, heavy rainfall, but also the strongest winds are going to be blowing in from the westerly direction. So you can see here that we've got an amber warning covering the entire region of Northern Ireland. We've also got an amber warning here across southwestern Scotland here, and as well as that, down the western side of northwest England and Wales, and also extending into the southwest of England as well. That is where we've got an amber warning for wind on that windward exposed western side of both England and Wales. So looking at the Arpege, like I say, we'll play through the loop. There's that feature that they brought the wind and rain through the course of Thursday. Then we'll cast our eyes out over the Atlantic. That is the system then deepening. Now the pressure is expected to drop into the 970s and millibars, but it's really on the north side. We've got very, very strong east southeasterly winds. You notice here that let's actually zoom in on the UK specifically, and it'll give you a better handle on what's going on, a better visual. So play through the loop here. We've got this lull in proceedings, over the next several hours or so, but then in comes Dara. We've got some chilly air out ahead of the moisture as it moves eastwards. So we've got plenty of heavy rainfall and gusty winds coming in from a south to southwesterly direction on the east-southeast flank of the centre. Pressure at 981 millibars. Obviously, medium to high ground. We've got the heavy snowfall, potential for blizzard conditions as those winds become gale force out of the south and southeast. Continue to play through. It's as we move during the latter half of Friday into Saturday morning. That's when the biggest concern for wind starts to increase. We could be talking about 70 mile an hour winds, especially on the exposed coast, anywhere around the island of Ireland as a whole, but then also into Wales, southwest England, and southwestern Scotland. And then at the centre of circulation moves into the north of England. On the northern flank, we've got very powerful easterly winds, probably 50, 60 mile per hour easily. Obviously, there's that snow threat over the Central Highlands. Heavy rainfall on the immediate coast of Scotland, if you notice. And then we've got a lull across the bulk of England, much of Wales also. But if we look at the winds here expected by the model, we've got some very powerful gusts indeed, especially blowing out of the north here across a good chunk of eastern Northern Ireland. The Antrim coast all the way down to Down and Armagh, we could be talking about the 70 plus mile per hour winds. Even around the Dublin area, you notice here that we've got some darker colours here representing winds as high as 154 kilometres per hour. What is that in terms of conversion here? Just bear with a second and see 154 in terms of miles per hour. We're talking 95 miles per hour. Believe it or not, that is very, very powerful winds indeed. So, strongest winds across Ireland, Northern Ireland, into Wales, into the southwest of the UK. Less so, especially underneath the centre of the low. We don't tend to have particularly strong winds. And then on the north side, you tend to find winds are not quite as powerful. But nonetheless, 40, 50 mile per hour winds on the northern side of the circulation is possible. We could see some coastal flooding along the east coast of Scotland, but it's really down across anywhere from to the south of Manchester and Liverpool, Leeds, really from through the Midlands and into the far south of the UK. We could be talking about particularly strong gusts of wind, and then right the way down through the North Channel and the Irish Sea, around the Isle of Man, we could be seeing some very, very significant waves. And that northerly flow never good for cross North Channel and the Irish Sea crossings. We're going to see widespread travel disruption, whether it be road, rail, air, or by sea with this circulation. The centre of the low then moves to the east, and then those strongest winds transfer east on the backside of the circulation itself. In terms of rainfall, let's have a quick look and see what the model is suggesting. This is, like I say, off the Arpege model. So strong gusty winds, but also heavy snowfall. We'll look at that in just a second. But in terms of rainfall, we could see 50, 60 millimetres of rain, especially to the north side of the circulation, but then also on the southern flank, especially these windward areas, anywhere from Snowdonia down to mid-Wales, anywhere where you've got that orographic lift, the moisture blowing in off the open sea, bumps into the hills adjacent to the coast, and you've got that forcing upwards, which then creates enhanced convection, and you may even see some localized lightning embedded within this very rapid spin of circulation. But certainly we're going to see some flooding out of this. I wouldn't be surprised if we see in excess of 100 millimetres of rain in a few spots where you've got open exposure to that moist flow coming in off the open sea. Looking at the other models here real quick, let's have a look at the ECM model, and we'll go back to, in fact, I do apologise, I meant to show you the snowfall projection, but we'll look at that in just a second. Let's have a look and see what the overview of the ECM is showing. So, again, back to here now, there's that system clearing out that affected us yesterday. In comes Storm Dara. Pressure, again, expected to drop to 977, 978 millibars. Heavy snowfall on the northern side where we've got colder air, milder conditions, so to the south side of the circulation, so we're not going to see anything wintry to the south. But nonetheless, very powerful winds, strongest winds, west, south side of the circulation, heavy snowfall, still 40, 50 mile per hour winds to the north of the centre, not just quite as bad, but with blizzard conditions, and also a fallen snow level as well. Once that system starts to pull away into the North Sea, we are going to see colder air getting drawn in from the north. Therefore, that snow level will start to drop, and even low levels may see rain changing to snow across central areas of Scotland, once the system clears out. But the pressure at 977 millibars, then it actually, the centre gets forced due south because pressure is building on the west and to the north side of the circulation itself. So it's forcing the actual low to then get forced down into France. But you can see here in terms of wind speeds, let's look at gusts. We'll go back and see here how this pans out. So just bear with a second. You can see here as we move through, we've got the wind gusts in excess of 156, again around 90, 95 miles per hour. Hopefully some of those strong winds stay offshore, but 90 plus mile per hour winds, this system has to be taken very seriously indeed. But you notice again the core of strongest winds across Northern Ireland, the Republic of Ireland, into West Wales, into the southwest of England here. Then as the system then moves eastwards, that transfer eastwards of strongest winds concern through the North Channel, the Irish Sea, in across Wales. It wouldn't be surprising if some exposed areas of parts of Wales, even northwest England, sees an excess of 80, pushing the 90 mile per hour range in exposure here. But even transferring inland, we could see 70 plus mile per hour gusts across parts of England and Wales out of this system. And even along the north coast of both Cornwall and Devon, we could see some particularly gusty winds. And really the concern is that once this system's the centre clears into the North Sea, we've got some very, very powerful northerly winds on the back side of this system as it pulls away. Remember, this is in a deepening phase as it crosses Northern Ireland and the bulk of central UK. This system, that's why it's got a name. That is why there is particular concern for this, because the system is deepening. A lot of the systems that we've had over the last several weeks and even the last couple of months have been in a weakening phase as they've moved towards the UK or a glancing blow. The worst of the conditions have been actually offshore. The problem with this feature is it's actually deepening and strengthening as it moves across both the UK as well as Ireland. Let's have a look at snow projections. Back again and play through the loop. You notice here that generally we do have concerns southern uplands and then even higher parts of the central belt, and then the south central highlands in particular, south of Inverness, we could see some significant accumulations of snow. And you notice here the model is indicating in terms of centimetres, we could really build snow totals up across anywhere really from north of Pitlochry, Blurathel, and then particularly so Dalwhinnie up towards the Carr Bridge area. We could be talking about some significant accumulations, and then factor in 30, 40, 50 mile per hour winds on top of that, blowing and drifting, creating very hazardous conditions on the roads. So let's play through. You can see here that we don't have an awful lot else. We may see, as the system pulls to the east, we get some accumulations over higher parts of North Wales, the central and North Pennines, for example, Cumbria, even possibly around the Dales. We may see some minor accumulations through the southern uplands as well. There's going to be the potential for a decent covering of snow out of this. Looking back at the Arpege here in terms of snow projection, because that's what I meant to show you initially, but I forgot. We'll play through this loop here just to get a rough idea what this model is indicating here. And it doesn't look as if it's a huge amount, but yeah, again, there we go. We're building the snow totals, particularly to the north and central belt, over the south and central highlands here, but we could see some decent coverings and possibly affecting high road routes of southern Scotland, including the M74. For example, we may see some issues with snow, but the Arpege model really does build the totals, especially through the higher parts of central Highland. We could be talking about some really hazardous travel conditions during the course of particularly later Friday and really a good part of Friday, but generally Friday night into Saturday morning and through the first half of Saturday in particular, we could see some particularly wintry conditions. Finally, looking at the GFS model here again, we've got a pretty decent handle in terms of the exact track and depth, generally taking that track across Northern Ireland, across Northern England at around kind of the mid 970s in millibars. In terms of the GFS model, again, similar idea in terms of the snow generally to the north of the central belt, and even down to relatively low levels across the highlands. We could be seeing some significant accumulations of a good 10-15 centimetres, possibly double or triple that, especially over higher parts. Looking at the overview chart, and we'll end with this of the GFS. A very strong area of high pressure, by the way, it builds in early next week. But you notice here, before we get there, we have to deal with the storm Dara. Moves across Northern Ireland into the north of England. Again, very, very similar idea. Heavy snow on the north side, heavy rainfall on the south side, strongest winds west and south of the centre, pressure around 977 millibars. It clears out generally off the Lincolnshire coast. We've got the strong northerly winds on the back side again, so those winds could really increase as the system pulls into the North Sea, over particularly even inland areas. It wouldn't be surprising 60, 70, even slightly higher gusts across inland areas. So the system clears out, and we've got the northerly wind and stronger, colder air coming in on the backside. Then that pressure really does rise to 946 millibars. But notice here that we've got an easterly wind across the bulk of England and Wales here. So that is going to be a cold wind. If we look at the 850s, you can see that the coldest air at 850 is actually in that easterly flow underneath the centre of the high. In tomorrow's video, there is going to be a European outlook tomorrow. We're going to look at the details with regards to the Arctic air that comes in behind this system that exits into the near continent. That is going to be the European outlook for tomorrow. I hope this has been helpful in terms of the rain, wind and snow risk from Storm Dara. And stay tuned. There's so many things going on at the moment. We're going to look at the medium to long range as well in the coming days. We've got the global weather and climate live. That is going to be at 4 p.m. on Sunday afternoon. So stay tuned and join me for that. Hopefully, I'll create that video and then leave a link in the description below tomorrow's video for that. So enjoy the rest of your Friday and stay safe. And I'll see you tomorrow with more. Bye for now.